Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad to have you here for talk number 2 in our series. In our first session, we kind of laid the groundwork for the Unity method. Today, we're going to go so much deeper. We're really going to explore why this approach is so desperately needed right now and how it works to completely flip our understanding of what healing even is. So let's just dive right in. This right here, this is the heart of it all. Everything we are about to discuss today flows from this single, incredibly powerful idea. And listen, this isn't just some feel-good quote to put on a coffee mug. It is the absolute foundation of this entire method. It's telling us that healing isn't about fixing something that's broken, it's about remembering a wholeness that was always there, just buried under the weight of our stories.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we're going to tackle the core problem that this whole method was designed to solve. Then, we'll get into its truly revolutionary philosophy. After that, we'll look at the practical framework, the nuts and bolts, and see it in action with a really powerful example. And then finally, we'll zoom out and look at the bigger vision for where this work is headed.
Okay, let's start with the crisis. For decades, psychology has relied on these diagnostic labels. And don't get me wrong, they can be useful. For research, for insurance, for giving people a language for their suffering, I get it. But there's a really serious shadow side to all of this. What happens when a helpful description turns into a kind of psychological prison?
This shows a subtle but absolutely massive shift in our language. Going from I have depression to I am depressed. That's the moment a temporary state, something shaped by what's happened to you, fuses with your permanent identity. You stop being a person who is experiencing something, and you become, in your own mind, a depressed person. The description has literally become your definition.
And that fusion of identity has devastating consequences. When we internalize a label, it's never just a word. It brings with it this wave of shame, this fear of judgment, and this crushing belief that we are somehow permanently damaged goods. And as you can see, that's when hope starts to fade. It's when people can actually pull away from the very process that's meant to help them heal.
So, if the labeling is the crisis, then what's the answer? Well, the Unity method proposes a pretty radical shift in perspective, and it all starts by changing the most fundamental question we ask when someone is suffering. It seems like a simple change, but trust me, it changes everything.
And this is it. This is the core shift. The old question, the one we're all so used to, is, what's wrong with you, right? It immediately frames a person as a problem to be solved, like a broken machine. But the Unity question, what happened to you, that changes the entire game. It stops looking for a defect and starts looking for a story. It's looking for context, not for pathology.
This brings us right to the core concept of wholeness. Now, in the Unity method, wholeness is not some goal you achieve after years and years of hard work and therapy. No, it's your starting point. It's this unchanging core of who you are that was never, ever damaged by trauma. The pain, the anxiety, all those patterns you carry, they aren't proof that you're broken. They're just the echoes of your story, calling you back to remember the wholeness that's already inside you.
Now, a philosophy is powerful, but you need a structure to actually bring it to life, right? And that is where the 5 pillars of Unity come in. This is the how. This is the practical, integrated framework that takes this idea of wholeness and makes it a real, lived experience.
Okay, so these 5 pillars, it's really important to see them not as steps in a line, but as interlocking supports that all work together. It kicks off with wholeness, the first pillar, always prioritizing your inherent completeness over your wounds. Then we have the somatic piece, healing in the body, because that's where trauma actually lives and where it gets released. It's also relational, helping you rebuild safe, secure connections with others. The neuroplastic pillar is amazing. It empowers you with the science of how your brain can literally change and rewire itself. And finally, acceptance. This one is so crucial. It frees you from this myth that you have to forgive other people in order to heal. Nope, your healing is yours.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like when you're working with a real person? Let's take a look at a case study to see the incredible difference between looking at someone through that old traditional pathology lens versus the Unity lens.
So let's meet Sarah. Through that pathology lens, she gets a diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. And the language that comes with it is just dehumanizing, unstable, resistant, broken. But just look at the shift when we put on the Unity lens. Her diagnosis is completely reframed as an adaptive survival strategy. Her emotional intensity isn't a flaw. It was a brilliant strategy her nervous system came up with to survive a history of abuse and abandonment. One view sees a disorder, the other sees a survivor.
And this shows you the impact on Sarah's own story, the story she tells herself. The pathology narrative left her feeling completely broken, hopeless.
But the unity narrative, it transforms her entire identity. She gets to reclaim her story not as one of being disordered, but as one of fierce, adaptive love. She is no longer her diagnosis. She is a whole person who learned how to fight. That is the power of this work.
So as we wrap up here, it's really important to get that this is so much bigger than just a new type of therapy. The Unity method is really aiming for a fundamental shift in our entire cultural conversation around mental health, around healing, and what it even means to be human.
Ultimately, this is not about adding another tool to the therapist's toolbox. The goal is to build a whole new toolbox. This is a movement to restore dignity, to challenge the systems that are so quick to label people as broken, and to create a culture where healing is finally understood as a return to the wholeness that was there all along.
So I want to leave you with this question, something that carry with you until our next talk. What would change? For you, for the people you love, for our entire culture? What would change if we truly believed this? What if healing was never about fixing, but always, always about remembering? Thank you.